Look at when the Fed started business, and I think it was early 1915, even though it was the Federal Reserve Act was 1913. It was mostly gold, the balance sheet, and some commercial paper like bills. I think Dan Oliver spoke about that, and gradually they started putting government debt in that balance sheet. Maybe can you just for fun, really, because hopefully it won't happen. Let's say if the Americans found out that Fort Knox was empty, what would happen? What do you think would happen economically and politically?
Well, okay. Well, first of all, I would challenge your wish that hopefully it won't happen. Hopefully it will happen in my view. And we can disagree on this, that's fine, but I would rather the dollar collapse completely and then the rebuilding would be forced to happen from the bottom up, because if the dollar maintains some purchasing power, then they're going to maintain a kernel of power from which to grow again. I don't want that. I want the real reset on our terms. And I know it's going to be rougher. But I'm not in charge of that. You're not in charge of that. Whatever it is, we're not going to dictate whether Fort Knox has the gold or not. So whatever it is, and it's called, in Judaism, this is called a tefillat shav, or a vain prayer, because you can't pray for something that already happened. Whatever it is, it is. If
I agree with you, Rafi. I said I hope it doesn't happen, mainly because it's going to be very painful. But I agree with you. It's probably it's the tough medicine, so to speak.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best medicine. So if it's empty, then there's going to be a complete run on the dollar, and the dollar would go to absolute zero. And then that's the situation where logically there would be no gold substitutes, because the dollar is still a gold substitute. But if it's not a gold substitute, then in that case, silver, going back to silver now, silver would need to come onto the market in monetary form, because silver is the natural gold substitute. It divides gold on a fair basis, physically. Because if paper doesn't work, you need the actual metal. So the dollar would go to zero, and then the economy would redenominate itself in terms of gold and silver ounces, probably around a 15-to-1 ratio, and that's when we would have to help by distributing the money supply, which would be our job.
You mentioned as well that the United States could break down and collapse, and that the states would become independent.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I'm not a political genius, or I'm just guessing.
Yeah, but
I mean, there are relatively sound fiscal states. Florida, I think, is one of them. Doesn't even have an income tax. Nebraska, Wyoming, those kinds of states, and they would. I don't even think they would actually have to secede officially. They might. They would. By all intents and purposes, have seceded anyway, because the federal government would be bankrupt and would have no way of enforcing anything, and because they couldn't pay for anything if Fort Knox is empty.
Yeah, that's why I shared.
They could be left on their own.
Yeah, and that's why I shared this page here, because Texas built a bullion depository. I think it opened in 2018, so and that makes sense. If that were to happen, they want to have, I'm not sure how much gold Texas holds, but I think Kyle Bass advised Texas a few years ago to buy physical gold, the state of Texas, and he said, don't buy on COMEX, take delivery. So to wrap up, Rafi, could we just go over the silver situation on COMEX, and also maybe LBMA, if you're keeping track of that, what's going on with the supply?
Well, since silver started to climb a little bit, I think to $20, $21, the registered supply has kind of stayed stable. It hasn't moved much. It's still around 35.5 million ounces left. In the eligible supply and the total supply, the drains keep coming, so we don't know exactly who that is, who's doing that, who's taking their silver off of the storage there. And in terms of the ETFs, and mostly SLV, it hasn't added gold since the rally. Sorry, it hasn't added silver since the rally started. So that means that the paper traders are not really chasing SLV, and they're still off the back of the market. And this is coming from physical demand, because the premiums are still above 40%. I think they've come down a little bit, but they're still higher than they were in 2008. So we're still very, very high on physical demand here.